Hey everybody, welcome back to another Beer Leaguer podcast episode. Once again, joining me is Mason.
Heyo.
And on this episode, I thought we would talk on something sort of related to what we've talked about previously, about what makes a good team and what makes good locker rooms and stuff like that. But the exact opposite of that. When is a good time to jump ship and leave your team? And what's a good reason for it? Start of the season for I think a lot of people, and maybe you're on a new team and you're just kind of feeling things out. Maybe you're on a team that has changed a lot and kind of seeing how things go. You know, when's the time to call it quits? And is it okay to do it? And what's being a jerk about doing it and what's not? That's kind of all the stuff I thought we should talk about. So I will kick things off with, I think, one of the easiest kind of ways to figure out if you should or shouldn't leave. And one of the biggest things that I hear about very early on is if your team has like moved what division or what group that they play in. Where me and Mason play, we have divisional play 1 through 5 for it. You know, higher numbers is better players, lower numbers, more beginner players. Pretty simple things. I think most places have some sort of similar structure to that. So one of the things that does happen is every year teams move up, some teams move down, and maybe you're no longer appropriate for your team. So I think that's a very, not necessarily easy call, but that's a very justifiable and easy to explain reason. You know, if your team has moved up, you should be up there with them. You don't feel comfortable playing up there. The game's too fast for you and you want to move down, or vice versa. If you're one of the better players in your team moves down and you've become the ringer that nobody likes because, you know, you're sandbagging it the whole time back there. That's another good reason to maybe, you know, jump ship.
Yeah, that would be interesting. This hasn't happened to us, so I don't have like any firsthand experience. But if I couldn't keep up with guys, like I don't think I'd be able to hang. I just feel bad for the team if I was like a liability. You know, probably wouldn't want to hang around a long time.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the easiest one to explain.
Yeah,
you know, because you're not saying you're just saying like, hey, you know, the team's moved up. I don't think I'm good enough to be up there with you guys. You know, I think I'm hurting you. You know, I want to, you know, move down, find another team, something like that. And in our league, that happens. I mean, pretty regularly in the beginning of the year, you have guys that shuffle around just because of that. You know, that's a totally, like I said, totally normal thing.
Yeah, it would just be hard if you're pretty tight with your team. I mean, you maybe just want to stick it out, but yeah, I don't know. That would be a tough one.
I think trying to stick it out is a lot easier for you if your team moved up and didn't move up significantly. They moved up like 1 or 2 spots and you're just slightly below what they should be. I think that's easier to deal with versus your team dropping down and you're too good. You know, because that's, if you're too good, you're kind of being a jerk to every other team. Whereas if you're not good enough, you're kind of just being a jerk to your own team.
Yeah.
They might be okay with. Maybe they're okay with it, you know? I don't know. It depends how competitive your team is and how much worse you are. Like, I think I'm a drain on both teams that I'm on, but nobody seems to mind. So, you know. You guys all seem okay with it. So, yeah. Does that make sense? When it goes different ways, how it's less of a thing?
Yeah, I think it depends on your personality too. Like you could be really good and not be a jerk about it. We've talked about tryhards before, and it's like if you're just out there having a good time feeding your buddies with some sweet passes, like maybe it's not so bad. But yeah, if you're dangling through guys going full McJesus, then it's probably a problem.
Yeah. And okay, kind of along with what you said is another reason you might want to jump teams, you know, go to a new team or even just stop playing for the season is if your team's changed a lot. Like you said there, Mason, is a lot of the reason you stick around is because you're buddies with a lot of the guys and maybe you've played with them for a long time. But there's also teams that, for whatever reason, there's huge turnover. Again, I know for our league, which keep using for an example, is especially the lower division teams, that seems to be something that happens in like year 4 for some reason. Like year 3 or 4 seems to be the big year of just a huge amount of turnover where people either decide they don't want to play anymore or they realize they're better than what, kind of they were playing at, and they move up to other teams that they've met or something like that. And the team has a huge, huge turnover. And that might be a reason you just don't want to play on that team anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about, or we've experienced changes in captains, not on our team, but on ancillary teams. And the new captain comes in and it's like a huge jerk. You don't want to play for that team anymore. I can imagine the same thing happens. Like, even if you're not really good friends, you just bring in like one bad apple and it really ruins the team, ruins the dynamic. You don't want to hang out with those guys anymore. Take your ball and go home.
Yeah, the way I've seen it is usually, teams are looking for, hey, we need 3 or 4 guys for this upcoming season. And you have like one guy that brings in like 2 of his buddies. And then they kind of become a clique on the team. And maybe they bring in 1 or 2 other guys that are on the team into their clique. And now all of a sudden, when you had like a team that was all kind of hanging out, you have like a little clique there that's now these like 5 or 6 guys that are kind of off to their side doing their own thing. And everyone else is just kind of left, not having friends to hang out with from hockey and not having people to talk to in the locker rooms or whatever.
Yeah. This happened this happened a few times now. We've had guys bring in their kids. It always worries me because it's like it could either be really good, the kid's cool, or, oh my God, this kid's a douche. And fortunately, it's gone, the kid's a good kid and they're fun to play with. But yeah, I've seen other teams where it's not gone well and the kid is a douche. And yeah, it ends up breaking the team because, like you said, the team has to move up because the kid's too good, or he brings more of his buddies, and it's the same problem. You keep getting better, and the other guys aren't getting better, so they got to stay back. Yeah, it could be real weird when you start injecting your buddies' kids into the mix.
Yeah, this is one of those things I think where we talked previously about, like what makes a good locker room. And I think this really feeds in with that of being just aware of it and kind of seeing how things are going. So you're not, dropping out at game 5 because you realized, oh, wait, I don't like any of these guys that are on my team anymore. The 5 guys I like don't play anymore. Or, 3 of them left and 2 of them are like part-time players now. Just kind of being aware of that sort of stuff, I think really gives you a heads up on it and stops you from having to be a jerk that, pulls out into the season and then leaving the team shorthanded somebody.
Yeah.
So, because I've seen that not with teams that we've been on, to other teams I've been on and stuff, and other teams I know from talking to people. But I've been on other teams where, way back in the day, I played on a team that was like I had family members on the team. Like that's who it was. It was all it was like family members and good friends and stuff. And eventually they all left. I stuck around and I knew all the guys, but it kind of just stopped being fun because it went from being, like I said, family members and people I grew up with and super, super close friends to, well, now it's just acquaintances that I see, once a week. And it's like, yeah, it's fun to play, but it wasn't the same anymore because you show up, you play, you go home,
right?
And that's also one of those things that I think leads into people kind of losing their love of playing, and leads into kind of burnout.
Yeah, I can see that
from hockey a lot. I think that can really lead into that. Another thing I have for, I don't know if this is a good reason, but a reason is playing on multiple teams. because this is a thing I have seen, and both of us now play on multiple teams. Is I know some people that play on, we both play on 2 teams. I've seen people that sign up and are on 4 rosters and play in multiple leagues, and are like, I'm going to be playing hockey, 5 nights a week. So that's something that I see a lot with beginners, is people like just start playing hockey, especially when they start playing it kind of later in life, is they start playing like in their 30s or something, or 40s even, and they catch the bug, they love it, and their solution is, I'm going to join multiple teams, I'm going to join in a couple leagues, and I'm going to go to like every open skate I can. And so they go from like never playing hockey to, playing once a week on a team, to then the next year playing on, 3 teams and 2 leagues, and going to, 3 open skates or sticking pucks and all this. And usually they get really good. They get way better and everything. And then real quickly after like 2 years, 3 years, they're completely burned out. And, a lot of times they wind up getting hurt and stuff, because let's be fair, if you're playing beer league, you're probably not in the best of shape and you're not used to doing that much. But, they end up getting hurt with things or having nagging injuries. Or, if they are like married or have girlfriend or whatever, they're complaining of why you at hockey every night, sort of thing, and then it just gets to be too much. That's something I see too.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't run into that a ton. I have thought about joining other leagues, just to like get out there a little more. But again, it's like, if 2 nights, I think, is my max now. If I were to play more than 2 nights, like you said, my wife would not be happy. It's already expensive enough playing on 2 teams. Like, add a 3rd team in the mix, or even ad hoc things. It's like gone up to like $15 a session, at least here in Cleveland. So it just adds up quick. So I could definitely see where just physically, emotionally, and financially, you could get burnt out really quick playing more than 2 nights a week.
Yeah, so I think that's a good reason to stop playing on a team, but I think that's also a cautionary thing for, don't go from 0 to 100. Like, you could build this stuff up. Like, I would tell somebody, don't join a whole bunch of teams at once. Maybe go to a whole lot of stick and pucks and drop-ins and stuff like that, instead of joining a bunch of teams. Because if you kind of get burned out and you stop going to like, hey, I'm not going to go to, I'm not going to go to the drop-in on Thursday nights anymore. Okay, not a big deal. Versus, I signed up for 4 teams. I'm not going to play for any of them anymore. Now you screwed 4 teams.
Yeah, right.
So I think that's like I say, I think it's a little bit more of a cautionary thing to watch out for stuff.
Yeah. With that said, I would say like it would be easier if you find like you're unhappy on a team, like, oh, I really like this other team that I'm playing on, so I could easily like be like, yeah, guys, I'm not coming back, and just move to another team. That is one advantage of playing on multiple teams. But yeah, you're right. Like, you don't want to overdo it.
Yeah, I think there's nothing wrong with playing on multiple teams. It's just, like I said, it's the thing of people going from 0 to 100. Like I said, I see that a lot with beginner people and people that maybe just start, played like in high school and then haven't played for, 15, 20 years. And it's usually the people, like, I've seen that more. People do that and they come back in and they play on one team, go, oh, that was a ton of fun. I loved it. I had a blast. I'm going to sign up for 3 teams now.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not a, to get very mathy, it's not a very linear progression of how that works for how much joy you usually have. It's much more of a hockey stick graph, they call it, where it really like spikes up very quickly at a certain point. And everybody is different. It might be your limit is 1 team, might be your limit is 2 teams, might be your limit is 1 team and going to a regular, pickup or stick and puck or something like that.
Right.
Also at a lot of these pickups, I run into people that used to play on teams and are just like, I don't play on any teams anymore. I just do like this drop in and this drop in, and sometimes this stick and puck because, it's super fun. I still get to play. I play regularly, but then if I got too much going on or whatever, I can just skip it for a week or two or even a month, and not a big deal.
Right.
And then for me, the last thing I have on my list that I came up with for what I think are kind of valid reasons for jumping ship is if you want to play with your buddies. That's a thing I see very commonly where people join a team and, maybe you don't know anybody really well. Maybe you kind of know some people. And then you have friends that maybe you encourage to get back in to hockey, or you try and get them to start playing, or they switch over to playing in a league you're in, or you've gotten good enough to play with them or something like that. And you just want to go play with your pals.
Yeah.
I think that's totally a good reason, a legit reason, a very valid reason to do it. To drop and switch teams for that. I see that honestly all the time in our league, people doing that.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I kind of did that when I joined our team, our first team. Yeah.
Getting to play with all your pals on the team.
Yeah, you. But that kind of leads me into one reason that I was thinking of that would be a good reason to switch teams, is if the league you're in is poorly managed. I've played in 3 different leagues now. And the first one was pretty garbage. They didn't have like good divisions or levels, so our team was just getting trashed all the time. So like you said, like getting moved up a division, we're already in the lowest division, so there's nowhere we could go, but we were getting trounced every game, so that wasn't fun. And then I actually moved, so I went to a new league on the east side of Cleveland here, and it was a pretty similar thing. Like, it was run poorly, there was not great communication, the teams were very unbalanced, and then I met you and started in this league, and it fluctuates, but it's mostly like a lot better than any of the other leagues that I've played in.
I'd say our league is a lot more consistent. I don't know if I necessarily things like always better, but it's more consistent, which is nice.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good reason. I've played in multiple leagues too. Like we kind of here in the Cleveland area, I think like there's a lot of the rinks have kind of their own mini league, but I think there's kind of 2 major leagues here that most people play in, where we play, which it's pretty big, but it's fairly consistent, not perfect by any means, but pretty good. And the other league is just a very wild west of things, of just teams playing each other that have no business playing each other. Like I remember I played in it after I started the beginner class. So we were a beginner team. There was a bunch of people that honestly, a lot of us at the time hadn't played organized hockey ever. Like there was a ton of people that had like bought their skates to join the beginner stuff. And there were a couple people that kind of knew what they were doing. I hadn't played organized ice in forever, sort of thing, but it was very, very beginner. And we went out there, and one of our first games was a team of kids that had just graduated from one of the really, really good high schools around here that was playing summer together. Yeah. Wow. And like, we're a bunch of like middle-aged, out of shape, don't know what we're doing, people that, are falling, hopping the boards and stuff. And these are all kids that are like, 18, 19, 20 years old that have just finished, just competed in like state championship hockey and everything. And it was awful because they were also not cool about it. They were doing the thing of, well, let's see how many of us can get, 5 goals this game. Can all of us get 5 goals? That'd be cool. It was, yeah, like that. It was just terrible. So that would be a good reason to leave, because we played one summer there and we were like, nope, we're done, we're out, this is awful, but nothing to do with this. I will say too, as someone that has run a league, that's also, it's really hard to put that stuff together too with people when you have a small league.
Yeah.
That's the other issue. Is a lot of these like house leagues are very small and have 5-6 teams. It's hard to split it up.
Yeah.
Because you probably have one team that's terrible, one team that's amazing, and then like 4 or 5 teams that are, well,
right.
There's somewhere in between, and it kind of depends who they have.
Yeah.
So I think that's a reason not just to like jump ship on a team, but a good reason to jump ship on a league and start looking around.
Right.
But that's it. That was all I had for my ideas. I don't know if you had any other thoughts, Mason, on good, valid reasons or things to kind of look out for if why you should. I mean, it's not just a, what's a justifiable reason, but stuff, that you should look out for on your team of warning signs of something you may want to start asking around.
Yeah, that's a good one. I can think of things. There's it's like a toxic relationship, right? Like people start talking badly to you or like yelling at you, like that's a warning sign. That should be a red flag. And again, like a toxic relationship, it can be hard to recognize that and be like, dude, I got to get out of this thing. But like that's one for sure. I would say if you just don't have fun anymore, like whether it's a skill issue, maybe you're not winning games, maybe XYZ. Like if it's just not fun anymore, maybe switch teams, mix it up. If you're thinking about quitting the game because you're not having fun, it could be just get out there and try a different team, meet some new people, some good new stimulation. Could help.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is if you're not having fun with it, that's when you should start looking. And that's a good time to talk to other people. Talk to people on other teams, talk to people kind of see what they say. If they maybe they say their team's awesome. That's I try to not toot my own horn a whole lot on this, but at the end of every fall season, I always have a ton of people asking if we're looking for new players.
Yeah.
And that's 100% the reason why, is because they talk to people that are on our team and they have fun.
Yeah.
Like we haven't been a very good team the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But like people, and that's not great, but people don't really, that's not the most important thing. They don't really care as much. It's more, oh yeah, no, they have a ton of fun with us. And so there's people that, have that ask like, hey, if you need anybody, I'll gladly drop my team because I'd like to play and, have whatever issues with them. They have, we have teams that we play against that, have mandates on how many people show up for a game. And, they fine people that don't show up. And, like kind of just ridiculous team. There's some teams that have like ridiculous team rules for things like that.
Right.
I'm sure there's a whole bunch of ridiculous team rules that we don't even know about that teams have that people don't like. And we don't have anything like that. And so that's a thing that I know people will ask, hey, do you guys need anybody? We're looking, I'm looking to get away from this, still want to play. So that's why it's a good thing to talk to people. That's why I always try and have like open dialogue with most of the captains. I mean, you see it. I talk all the time to different other teams. I talk to referees. I talk to just kind of know. And then that way it's kind of having this community of people that, you talk to. It doesn't have to be like deep conversations with, but you're friendly with. And then that way it gets to, hey, it's the end of the season or something, or hey, I'm in the beginning of the season. You can go, hey, do you know anybody that's looking for somebody? Like, I'm kind of not loving this team I'm with. You know anybody that needs a guy or something like that? And those are conversations that happen all the time. All the time.
Yeah. I would say too, like something I didn't even really think about until just now is like if you don't feel safe on your team, like you may want to jump ship. I think I've read a few posts now in like the hockey players Reddit from like some female hockey players where they don't feel safe on the team or they're like getting sexually harassed and man, some of the weird locker room dynamics like it doesn't make sense to me.
I'm not laughing at any of those. I'm laughing at some of the other, not the ones where like there's women that don't feel safe, because yes, you should definitely jump teams. You should 100% get the hell out of there and find a team that you feel safe with. I know in our league we have women that play, not a ton, but they do seem to kind of migrate to the same teams. Right. Because it's like if you get one or two women on a team, I think they see like, oh, hey, this team must be okay with it. So I'm going to see if I can join that team because I feel comfortable not being the only girl on the team.
Right.
So that's not what I was snickering at. I was just snickering at some of the other weird crap because I was looking at stuff like that as well in the hockey players Reddit. And man, there's some weird people out there in the locker rooms. And we have weird people. We've had weird people on the team. We still have weird people on the team. We play with weird people. But there is like, I don't even know what to call it out there. Like stuff that I would not want to be around regularly.
Yeah.
At all. And that would be a good reason to, I would say mention it to somebody else, because more than likely, if you're thinking that, probably other people are. Maybe it's time to get that other person to switch teams.
Yeah. True.
But yeah, that would be definitely a good reason if there's like the multiple people like that. Or like I was saying before, if people bring in their buddies and all of a sudden they get a little click, and that's when a lot of times when people get comfortable and they can start being really weird in the locker room together.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point with from weird locker room. Now I have all these awful thoughts from these posts in my head of stuff I've read about it.
Yeah, it broke some glass for me. I didn't. Yeah.
Yeah. Fortunately, we don't have that. I don't think so. That's good. We just have normal weird people.
Right.
So, but yeah, that's definitely something to consider. And also, that's a good reason why if you are jumping to teams, especially if you're on a team and you're looking to switch to another team for whatever reason, something a little bit more serious, like you don't feel comfortable with them, versus something of, hey, I don't think the guys are fun to hang out with. They don't want to do what I want to do. Like you want to go hang out after games and nobody on the team hangs out or something like that, is not to just pick up any random teams to try and latch onto, is talk to the people and kind of see what people do, and kind of get to know them a little bit and have some kind of dialogue so you don't wind up with that. Because that's the thing I've seen is, and we know people that are like this, that they like to go hang out after games, go to the bar or whatever afterwards. And they're like the only one on their team that does that. And so they feel weird because no one wants to. And that wouldn't be fun. But if you wind up going on to another team and it winds up nobody else wants to go out, you're just back in the same boat.
Right.
So I think that's an important thing to talk to somebody on the team and kind of see, what kind of the team dynamics are like and how they are. And some teams are big partier teams. Some teams are game's over, everybody leaves right away. Some teams hang out in the locker rooms. There's a lot of different stuff people do. And it's just whatever you're comfortable with. There's not a good or a bad with it.
Right.
It's
personal preference.
Yeah. And I don't think anybody, I know for me, I wouldn't think anything less of somebody if they were like, hey, listen, I'd rather, I'm going to jump over to this other team because of something like that. I'd be like, oh, well, it might suck because if they're a good player or whatever, but wouldn't be mad about it.
Right. Exactly.
No, I think it's a very good point there of things.
Thank you.
I think that covers probably everything.
The big things.
At least everything we can think of.
Yeah, I'm sure there's more.
Yeah.
Hit us up.
You can hit us up now. You can email the show. You can also leave a comment if you're watching this on YouTube. You can leave a comment in the YouTube comments, or you can also text the show. We're gonna try to be better about remembering this. Is you can text the show in the show description. There is a link. It says text the show. Click that, and you can write a fun text. Let us know reasons you've left a team, reasons you think are good to leave a team, or maybe somebody left a team for a really dumb reason and you want to make fun of them.
Yeah. Bring it on. Craziest story wins something. Shout out.
Win something from Mason, not from me.
I'll shout you out on the next one I'm on.
So yeah, let us know. Love to hear some feedback on that. Love to find out some reasons you guys have done that, and we'll bring this up again. We'll talk about it at a later date on another show, follow up of things, or if there's something really good, I'll throw it into a shorts episode and bring that up, and I'll laugh to myself. All right, well, I think that wraps up the episode. Mason, thank you very much, as always.
My pleasure.
And thanks, everybody, for listening, and catch you in the next one.